Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Lockdown LitFest, where today I have got a guest I am so pleased to be talking to. He's the man who wrote the Alex Rider series of novels. He's the man that wrote the Diamond Brothers series of books. And he wrote The Power of Five, Raven's Gate, Evil Star, Nightrise, Necropolis, Oblivion. So hands up if you're a fan of The Power of Five, or the Diamond Brothers, or Alex Rider. Oh, I see so many hands in the virtual world going straight up. Put them down now. A very warm welcome to Anthony Horowitz, who wrote them all. How are you, Anthony?
I'm very well, Paul, and a great pleasure to be speaking to you. Thank you for inviting me.
Jolly good. Now, listen, can we come to Alex Rider? Because a very exciting thing happened a little while ago. I can see your eyes gleaming with the mere thought of it. Something happened to Alex Rider. Can you bring us up to date?
Well, something good for a change. Instead of being shot at or chased around the world or dropped out of aeroplanes or all the rest of it, he was put on television. Amazon started running Alex Rider, which is a TV series based on Point Blank. It started on June the 4th, starring a young actor called Otto Farrant. And I have to tell you, Paul, I am so thrilled because it was very scary for me. You know, when you give your book to a production company to turn it into a film or television, you are, as it were, giving away your baby. You're losing control of what you've written. And, you know, what Otto does with the character and how he sees Alex may be different to how you see the character. And I was worried that people who loved the books would really not enjoy the TV show. But actually, here we are now, just a day or so after it went out, and the response has been absolutely fantastic. It's a little more adult than the books because obviously for television, it had to encompass mums and dads and older brothers and sisters, as well as sort of the core readers. But I'm finding that young people are not being too put off by the slightly adult nature of it. Older people are enjoying the sort of the adventure and the excitement and remembering books that they read all those years ago. And it has, by the look of it, touching wood now, been a success. And there are 8 parts of it, and hopefully it's the first of many. We will wait and see.
Have you seen it? Did you enjoy it? Was it weird watching your own character on screen?
I didn't write it myself. That was done by a very, very good writer called Guy Burt, who took over the scripts and wrote all 8 of them and did a brilliant job in both understanding what was in the books, but also modernizing them and making them more sort of, you know, making them more accessible to a 21st century, a new audience. I've been absolutely thrilled with it. I've been EPing on it, which means executive producer, which means basically people ask me what I think of everything, even if they don't actually listen to the answers. But at least I feel part of the team. And the whole experience has been a total pleasure.
The whole Alex Rider series started back in 2000, if memory serves, with a book called Stormbreaker. So can we come to the origin myth of Alex Rider? Where did the character spring from? What were you trying to say? What was the idea?
Well, I'd had the idea a long time before I wrote it. In fact, I had the idea when I was probably in my 20s and used to go to the James Bond films every year. And when I was at school, even as a boy, I was 10 years old when Dr. No came out, and these films meant a lot to me. They were fantastically exciting. All the color and the adventure, tropical islands and beautiful women and lovely food, you know, all the things that I didn't really have in my life were on the screen, and I loved James Bond. But then Sean Connery was replaced by Roger Moore. Roger Moore made, I forget how many films he did, but by the time he did the last film, A View to a Kill, he was 57 years old. And the inspiration for Alex Rider was simply, Bond is too old. Wouldn't it be great if there was a spy who was a teenager? So cut forward many, many years later to the year 2000, where I remember that idea. I'm living in North London, and one day, one afternoon, I can still see myself sitting at my desk and writing this sentence. When the doorbell rings at 3 a.m, it's never good news. And in that moment, the Alex Rider franchise was born. And it's worth mentioning, Paul, that at that time, I'd written about 10 books for children. All of them are still in print. The Switch, Gruesome Grange, Return to Gruesome Grange, The Diamond Brothers, The Power of Five, all those books were there. But nobody was noticing them. And it's an interesting thing that writers often don't become successful overnight. It's not an immediate thing. You have to work at it and keep going. But with Stormbreaker, I did something new, something different, something exciting, and it just clicked. And the book started selling in numbers I couldn't begin to believe. And here I am, 20 years later, and we've got the TV series. It's been the film, and it's sort of a worldwide phenomenon. It's like a stampeding elephant that's sort of taken over my life.
Well, what a great stampeding elephant to have. So tell us who Alex Rider was in the first book. How old was he? For those that aren't familiar with the book, so
Alex was Alex was everything I wasn't. He wasn't James Bond either. I mean, he was an ordinary schoolboy. He was 14 years old. His parents were dead. He lived with an uncle. The uncle he thought was a banker. And the whole story of Stormbreaker is his discovery that everything in his life is untrue. The uncle has lied to him from the very beginning. He was never a banker. He was a spy. And not only that, he has quietly been training Alex to become a spy when he's grown up. So all those holidays where they did things like climb mountains or learn martial arts, all the languages that he was expected to learn when he was growing up, all the things that he's been equipped with are there to make him one day into a spy. And Stormbreaker begins with the death of the uncle. Ian Ryder is killed, and MI6 realize that Alex is the perfect person to help them, and they send him on a mission. And so all those skills come into use, and that's where the story begins.
He's you say, 57. For those of you watching, this is what 57 looks like if you don't do it properly.
Well, Paul, I am much older than you now, so I'm not ageist necessarily, but I will say to young viewers, enjoy it while you have it, because when I was 13, I never believed I'd be sitting here talking to you in my 60s. Instead, when I was 13, the technology that we're using was something you'd only find in a science fiction book.
Exactly. But recently, there's been a new addition to the Alex Rider series with a book called Nightshade. Can you tell us what that's about?
Well, Nightshade came out in April, which was a little bit sad because it meant that there was no launch party and I wasn't able to go on signing sessions and visit people in bookshops and give talks and everything. It was all a bit quiet, but it is the 13th book in the series, which, as I say, have taken me 20 years to write. In many ways, I think it is the best adventure yet. And a lot of the people on the internet or on Twitter who contact me there have said how much they've enjoyed it. This time, Alex is up against a particularly evil organization called Nightshade that uses young people, children, as assassins and sends them on missions around the world. And Alex stumbles across them. And for those of you who know the books, Alex says they make Scorpia look like a vicar's tea party. And Scorpia was the old evil organization. These ones are even worse.
What makes it the best one yet, do you think?
I think, well, first of all, I like the plot. I love the idea of radicalization. These children have all been brainwashed. They have been radicalized. And the book does have a sort of a sense of belonging to the modern world in which there are young people in many, many countries who are being radicalized by their parents, by authority figures, by their schools, by religions, whatever. I'm not saying all children this is true for, but there are some, and I'm very interested in looking at that, in how you control your own life. But that sounds a little bit heavy going. The real truth of the matter is that the action sequences in Nightshade are the best I've written. The final sequence, which takes place, I can't give away too much because it's what it's all about. It's called Leap of Faith. And the final sequence takes place in London. And it is quite simply the most exciting piece of writing I think I've ever done. I researched it very carefully. 2 buildings are involved, and I visited both of them and went into parts of them that nobody is allowed to see, but I managed to get in. And it was just such an exciting book to write. And as I say, I think the action is the best I've yet done. And it just all works. I'm very happy with it.
You and I are both men with greying hair, so how do you continue to write with the mindset of a teenage boy who also happens to be a spy?
I think, Paul, that I never actually lost the mindset of a teenage boy. I think there are 2 types of people in this. There's something noisy happening behind me. Do you want me to go and ask them to stop, or is it okay?
Sounds fine.
Okay. I think that you. There are 2 types of people in this world: people who remember what it was like to be young, who remember that they were once teenagers, who remember the emotions and the excitement that they felt when they were 14 and 15 years old, and there are people who've forgotten it. And of those 2 types of people, I know which are the ones I enjoy meeting. People who remember what it is like to be a child generally have something about them which is very attractive and nice and makes them a good friend. And that's what I try to be, and that's what I am. I've just never forgotten. I've never forgotten what it was like to read when I was 14 years old, how young people don't just read books, they devour them, how they live inside books, how anybody watching this now is watching it because it's Alex Rider Plus, and you get the excitement of talking about something that we both love. Adults are much more cynical, are much colder, are much more grumpy, and I that's what I respond to when I'm writing the books. I write those books for the 14-year-old me.
Listen, there are lots of people that would have seen Stormbreaker the movie, and they'll be watching Alex Rider the TV series on Amazon Prime, but maybe not have read the book. And I know that you and I have tried to do lots of stuff to inspire boys, especially, to realize that reading a book is a good thing to do. What would you say to them that say, "Oh, I don't need to read the book. I've seen the movie, or I'm watching the TV series"? How do you
It's a
respond to
very,
that?
very good question, Paul. And the trouble is, the more you tell children you must read, it's good for you, the less really they want to read, and the less they take your advice, because children are their own people, and they don't need people like me to tell them what's good for them. But I will say this: reading is not a leisure activity. People say it is, but it isn't. Reading is one of the most creative things you can do with your mind. It is actually as creative in its own way as writing. So when you read a book, you take hieroglyphics, symbols, letters, you make them into words, you make the words into sentences and sentences into paragraphs. Out of that, you begin to create a world, because you have to see the world. You see Alex, you see where he lives. When he gets into a fight, you see the punches being thrown, the guns being drawn. You, with your imagination and your brain, are creating an entire universe, and it's full of people, and you are really doing an enormous amount with your brain. Which is why when you read, first of all, there is this extraordinary sense of achievement and pleasure and escapism, particularly now when we can't go out and see our friends completely, where we can't go shopping, where we can't go to the cinema, the theatre, or to fun fairs, or to swimming pools, or anything. So reading takes you places. It takes you into another world. And at the same time, it makes you stronger. It makes you more excited about life. It sort of does teach you stuff. It helps you with your language. Children who read are simply, in my view, blessed with a sort of an energy that other children, I'm afraid, do not have.
That's nicely put. I like that. Can we talk a bit about Diamond Brothers? Because although I'm not your target market, you didn't write it for people like me. I really like the Diamond Brothers, and I've given so many away to godchildren and to children I know and so on. And you haven't written one since 2007. And I'm wondering, will you ever come back to the Diamond Brothers? And of course, for those that don't know of it, who are they and what are the books about?
Well, the Diamond Brothers are my sort of book, my jokey books. They're my funnier books. They're sort of, they're adventure and their chases, but they've got loads and loads of jokes. The setup is this: Tim Diamond is the world's worst private detective. He's 25 years old, and he is so stupid he cannot find a fingerprint at the end of his own finger. But he is lucky because he has a 14-year-old younger brother. The two of them live together. The parents have emigrated to Australia, and the younger brother helps the older brother to solve all the crimes. Nick Diamond is the clever one. There are, I think, 5 or 6 of these books. Some of them, incidentally, are very short. And I should add, Paul, but if you go to my website, anthonyhorowitz.com, I've been writing a free Alex Rider book. You can read it for no payment at all. I've been writing it one chapter at a time and posting the chapters, and also posting comments from people who've been reading it. And if you therefore want to give the Diamond Brothers a taste and see if you like it, you can go there and see what you think. The book is called The Seagull Has Landed. And I have to say that you say that these books are only for children, but actually, even the titles you will recognize why the title is a joke. Children, I think, probably won't understand, but there was a very famous film that you and I both loved when we were much younger called Where Eagles Dare, and Eagles has become seagulls, and that suddenly is funny. And the very first book in the Diamond Brothers series, The Falcon's Malteser, is also a joke on a film. So the books are film pastiches as well, and that's for the adults to enjoy. But I think kids just enjoy the jokes and the characters and the crazy situations that these two boys get themselves into.
They're fun to read, I know from my own experience. Are they fun to write?
Oh, I love writing them. I started writing this new one in lockdown, and I was worried, look, this is a difficult world, and I'm listening to the news, and I'm hearing about all these people getting ill and all the rest of it. Can I write jokes? And to my surprise, the jokes just fell onto the page. And I'm afraid this doesn't sound good, Paul, but I sit in my room giggling, and I run down to tell Jill, my wife, hey, you've got to hear this new joke I've written. And I love doing them. I mean, you're quite right. I haven't written a Diamond Brothers book for many, many years. And to come back and find these two boys again, still alive and well, still absolutely broke and living in Camden Town, and to find them once again and to send them off on another adventure has been a total joy.
With lockdown, of course, things have been really difficult if you're at school, whatever age you are, and you're trying to do online learning through Zoom meetings with teachers and with classmates and so on and so forth. And of course, you're expected to do a lot of work on your own these days, not in the class, writing essays, doing stuff like that. Have you got any tips for children of all ages who are sitting there staring at a blank piece of paper or looking at a blank Word document or whatever on a laptop, thinking, I've got to write a 200-word story to have in for my Zoom or Class Dojo or something in 3 days' time. What advice would you give kids who are having terrible trouble trying to learn and trying to be creative online?
Welcome to my world is the first thing I want to say. I've been sitting in a room by myself with a blank sheet of paper for 35 years. And how do I do it? Well, I'll tell you how I've always done it. By enjoying it. You've got to persuade yourself, I think, that actually it's something you want to do. If you sit down there and you say, oh, I want to go and watch TV, I want to play a computer game, I want to go and have a snack, but I've got to do this wretched piece of work. Oh, no, no, no. You're already in a bad place. You've got to somehow say, well, what's good about this? Hold on. I can actually write something which is funny. I can write a joke. I can write something that actually excites me. I can put a picture on the side of it. I can do a doodle. I can enjoy it. I think that is the secret, because you've just got to somehow persuade yourself that actually doing it will be fun. And then, even if it isn't fun, by the time it's over, you'll have at least have finished it. You'll have done it, and it's done. I think sitting there, oh no, is a bad start. And sometimes I go up to my desk, and I'm not in the mood to write, and then I think about it a bit, and I have a cup of tea, and I say, actually, if I write that will be quite fun. Well, oh yeah, I'll do that. Oh, well, that's a good idea. Then I draw a picture of Tim, tied down to the railway track with a train on its way. And I think, yeah, that's going to be quite fun. And then suddenly I get myself genned up and excited, and I do it. So that, I guess, is the only way. And also to all those young people now who have, some of them returning to school, some of them who have missed their friends and missed their school, never forget that we are amazingly adaptable as human beings. This will end. This will stop. And although things may never be completely the same, we may find ourselves, washing our hands 10 times a day and wearing masks forever. But next year, this will be a memory and things will be better. So look forward and be excited. Don't let it get you down. Keep reading, because there are so many books out there. There are lockdown festivals and lots of resources to find on the net of writers like myself. I'm reading Stormbreaker myself. If you haven't read Stormbreaker, you can find me reading it out one chapter at a time. And I know that many, many other writers are doing the same thing. There are writing classes on the internet. There's a lot around to support you. And together we will come through this and things will be better.
Anthony, this is a tricky question because you and I are both boys. Alex Rider's a boy. The Diamond Brothers are boys. Where are the girls?
Well, they're in the Power of Five series. Holly, who is one of the main characters, is most definitely a girl. And Alex does have girls. There's Sabina in the Alex Rider books, who is sort of a sidekick of sorts, who turns up in a couple of the books. And you sort of make me a little bit embarrassed, Paul, but I haven't written more girl characters. I guess that's related to the fact that when I'm writing these stories, I'm thinking of myself aged 14, and therefore it is much easier to remember myself as a boy, which is what, of course, I was. And the Alex Rider books, incidentally, do have an audience that goes across the board, 50-50. Yep. Particularly, I think, now that Otto Farrant is playing Alex on TV, he is quite easy on the eye, and hopefully that will attract more readers, or who to the TV series. So I should write more girls, and will. You know that my murder mystery stories now have a female lead in them. It's a criticism which I accept.
Not a criticism, it was framed as a question.
An observation.
An observation. I mean,
there are also wonderful writers out there, Jacqueline Wilson, Mallory Blackman, etc., Susan Collins, who have wonderful female protagonists as well. And I'm not saying in a world that men should write boys and women should write girls.
Right.
There are writers who do both. But for me, it is just a case of I'm feeding on my childhood, and as a child, it was a boyhood.
I've done lots of literary festivals with you over the last 20 years or so in the real world, and I've seen lots of signing queues that are both half boys, half girls. I know that you have a big audience. What do you miss about meeting your readers, about sitting at a desk with them coming up with their book, you signing it, and you getting to have a chat with them? It's
a very, very special moment, Paul. I love going to literary festivals. I love meeting young people. It's quite difficult because we only have a short time together if there's a long queue of people waiting to get books signed. I love doing selfies. I love that moment of I think that, the greatest thing about being a writer, especially a writer for young people, is that you are making people happy, actually. Because also, if someone doesn't like my books, they don't have to read them. They can read 2 pages and say, no, this is not for me, and find a writer that they do like. And that's one of the great things now. There are so many wonderful writers around. It's impossible to not be able to find a book that you like. But in that little moment when I can just answer a question or do a selfie, etc., something happens between the child and myself that is memorable and positive, and I love it for that. But it is simply a very easy way to make somebody else happy.
If we can organise, say, 5 copies of Nightshade from your publisher, will you? And we can get 5 people to get to email us saying they'd like a signed copy, and we might do a little quiz or something. Would you be happy to sign some copies that we can send out to some readers?
Well, I'll go further than that. If the publisher's too mean to send you 5 copies of my books, I'll pay for them and send them myself. I'd be very, very happy to do that. And you should just, Paul, don't connect me with it. You handle it from your end. If you find 5 people who have a reason why the book would be special to them, I'm sure we can arrange that.
So we'll run a short quiz. We'll be something up online. We'll put something up sometime soon around the publication of this, and we will offer to the 5 best comments, perhaps on Alex Rider, a signed copy to the 5 people that contribute a fantastic question that we can pose to Anthony, and we'll make sure that you get sent a signed copy by Anthony Horowitz of Nightshade.
And Paul, just to add one little warning to that the books are all in lockdown somewhere in a warehouse, and I'm in lockdown here, and
we'll try and find a way to do it.
There'll be a certain amount. There'll be a little time lapse, is all I'm saying.
We'll try and find a way.
Promise made, and we'll make sure it happens.
We'll try and find a way to do it. Anthony, it's been lovely to talk to you. Many congratulations on Nightshade. Just once again, tell us, how can people go and watch the Amazon Prime TV series of Alex Rider?
Well, just simply go to Amazon. You have to have Amazon, or find a friend who's got Amazon. That's where it is. It's up and running on Amazon Prime. And as I say, you can try with Diamond Brothers on AnthonyHorowitz.com. There's me reading Stormbreaker somewhere else. Actually, Paul, it's pretty hard to escape me.
It's been a pleasure to spend some time. The Anthony Horowitz, thank you so much for joining us here at Lockdown LitFest. So there we go. Anthony Horowitz, fantastic author, brilliant writer who works really, really hard to create some fantastic stories for you. So as he said, head to Amazon Prime to see the latest Alex Rider on Amazon Prime TV. Head to AnthonyHorowitz.com to hear him read from Alex Rider and to read the new story that he's publishing chapter by chapter, week by week, on an special Alex Rider for Alex Rider's fans. We hope you're looking after yourself. We hope you're keeping up with your schoolwork. We know it's hard. We really do. Look after your mums and dads. Hopefully your mums and dads are looking after you, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for coming to join us. Bye-bye.